Commander Vecranar of the Valari Empire stood on the observation deck of the Terran Union. Flagship Horizon's Grace. His long silver robe flowed behind him, and his 4 glowing eyes blinked nervously. The stars outside the ship shone brightly, but they weren't the reason his hearts were racing. He turned to the human standing beside him, Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell. She had short black hair, bright brown eyes, and a calm smile that always made him feel braver than he was. Vecranar cleared his throat, a soft humming sound. "Sarah Mitchell of Earth," he said in a serious tone, "we have fought together in 3 battles. We have survived asteroid storms. I have seen you defeat a Trachner beast with only a wrench." Sarah laughed. It was more like a very large dog. "I still respect it," Vecranar said with a nod. "I respect you deeply. My mind, my soul, my duty, all now belong to you." He reached into his belt and pulled out a small glowing crystal. It sparkled with swirling lights, a rare gem from his home planet. With slow grace, he dropped into a floating kneel, a Valari sign of complete devotion. "Will you join? Your life to mine, Sarah Mitchell. Will you marry me?" Sarah's eyes widened. Not because she was shocked, but because this moment, on a silent deck with stars above, was more romantic than she ever imagined. She looked at the floating alien before her. Brunar was taller than her, with dark violet skin and a strange yet kind face. He wasn't human, but his heart was true. "Yes," she said, smiling wide. "I will." Vecranar made a happy warbling sound. Lights on his forehead flickered blue, the Valari color of joy. But then Sarah raised one finger. "But," she said slowly. Vecranar paused, mid-celebration. "But there's one condition," she said. His glowing eyes blinked. "Is it about your Earth traditions? I studied the bonding customs of your kind. I am ready for cake." Sarah laughed. "No, not cake. It's more important than cake. You want to marry me? Is she a high commander? A priestess? A ruler?" Sarah shook her head. "No, she's just ... my mom. But trust me, she's tougher than all of those." Vecranar stood slowly, thinking. "Deeply your mother's blessing is sacred. To me it is." He stood tall and proud. "Then I accept this trial. I shall go to Earth. I shall meet this great Mother Mitchell and win her blessing." Sarah gave him a quick hug. "Good luck, Commander. You're going to need it." Far away on Earth, in a small house in Wisconsin, Linda Mitchell was watering her front porch plants. Her cat, Muffin, sat on the windowsill watching birds. The air smelled like fresh grass and cinnamon cookies. Linda, wearing her usual flower-printed shirt and slippers, had no idea that in less than a week an alien commander would land in her front yard, but she did know her daughter was up to something. She could feel it. She looked at the sky and narrowed her eyes. "What are you planning now, Sarah?" Back on the ship, news of the upcoming meeting spread quickly. The Galactic News Network got wind of it and titled the event, "Alien Commander Seeks Earth Mother's Approval to Marry Human Lieutenant." Millions of viewers across the stars tuned in. Even the Galactic Council sent a message. "We would like a full report. This may affect human-Valari relations for generations." Vecranar stood before a mirror, practicing Earth's greetings. "Hello, human mother. I seek the sacred blessing. I bring a peace crystal and meat substitute." Sarah tried not to laugh. "You might want to bring flowers instead." "Ah, plant sacrifice." "Understood." As the ship set course for Earth, Vecranar felt nervous for the first time in years. He had faced pirate fleets and black hole anomalies, but this was the trial that mattered most. Sarah leaned beside him and whispered, "Just be yourself. But maybe. Don't mention the time you vaporized that moon. Mom's very big on talking things out." "I shall be peaceful," Vecranar promised. "Unless muffins are involved, then I cannot be held responsible." The Valari Royal Shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. It was long, golden, and shaped like a smooth arrow. People on the ground took pictures, thinking it was part of a movie. But this was no movie. Inside the shuttle, Commander Vecranar stood tall and serious. He wore his finest ceremonial armor, polished until it shined. On his chest was the silver mark of peace. In his hands, he held a glowing gift box filled with rare crystals and 1 jar of moon honey. "Remember," Sarah said, walking beside him, "this is just my mom. Be polite, relax, and try not to hover when you speak. She doesn't like floating guests in the living room." Vekranar looked surprised. "But the hover is a sign of respect." "Well, be float a little less." The shuttle landed. Gently on a quiet suburban street in Wisconsin, the engines hummed down. A soft cloud of golden gas rose as the doors opened. Birds flew away. A neighbor peeked through her curtains. Linda Mitchell stood on the porch. Holding a tray of cookies and wearing a puzzled look on her face, Sarah stepped out first. "Hi, Mom." Linda blinked. "Sweetie, is that an alien ship on my lawn?" "Yes. And that's Vekranar. He's here to meet you." Linda stared as the tall, four-eyed alien stepped forward and carefully walked down the shuttle ramp. He held the gift box out with 2 hands. "Greetings, Matriarch Linda of Earth. I have come for your blessing." Linda looked him up and down. She wasn't afraid, just very confused. "You brought me ... a glowing box. These crystals represent unity, trust, and also dessert." Linda blinked again. "Well, you'll fit right in." She took the box, handed him a cookie, and said, "Come inside, Veki." Vekranar paused. "Veki, it's a nickname. You're part of the family now." Sarah giggled as they entered the house. Vekranar took off his boots after Sarah whispered, "Mom hates muddy floors," and carefully stepped onto the soft carpet. The living room was full of normal Earth things: family photos, warm couch, a cat sleeping on a chair. Vekranar looked at Muffin the cat. "Is this a pet or a tiny overlord?" "Both," Linda said with a smile. They all sat at the table. Linda poured tea. Vekranar sipped it carefully. Strange but pleasant. "So," Linda said, leaning forward, "you want to marry?" "My daughter?" "Yes," Vekranar said with pride. "She is strong, brave, and once saved me from space pirates using only duct tape and shouting." Sarah blushed. "It wasn't that dramatic." Linda raised an eyebrow. "And you think you're good enough for her?" Vekranar sat up straighter. "I am a commander of the Velari fleet. I have honor. I do not lie. I have memorized over 300 human jokes." "Tell me one," Linda said, crossing her arms. Vekranar took a breath. "Knock, knock. Who's there?" Vekranar relaxed. "Thank you, Matriarch." Sarah leaned in. "You worked really hard on that one." Linda nodded. "I can tell, still, ... a few jokes won't get you my blessing." Vekranar nodded. "I am ready for the real trial." "Good," Linda said, standing. "Tomorrow we have a family barbecue. You'll meet your future uncle, aunt, cousins, and Grandma Ruth." Vekranar stood, saluted, and said, "May the fire of the grill test my soul." Linda raised an eyebrow. Again, it might. Just then, Muffin the cat jumped onto Vekranar's lap. The alien froze, unsure what to do. Muffin curled up and purred. "He has chosen you," Linda said with a grin. Vekranar looked down at the small creature. "This is ... in honor." That night, Vekranar sat in the guest room, carefully studying Earth family behavior on his tablet. He watched old sitcoms, survival cooking shows, and a full documentary on how not to offend Grandma. In the kitchen, Linda whispered to Sarah, "He's odd, but sweet, and very polite." "He's trying hard," Sarah said softly. Linda nodded. "Well, tomorrow, we'll see what he's really made of. If he survives your cousins, maybe I'll start warming up to him." Outside, the stars sparkled. Above, watching quietly, and the galaxy waited to see if one brave alien warrior could survive the wildest battlefield of all, meeting the family. The next morning, birds chirped, the sky was clear, and the Mitchell backyard was busy with activity. A long table was set with snacks, drinks, and a big grill in the corner. Folding chairs were everywhere. Balloons danced in the breeze. It was time for the family barbecue. Linda Mitchell was in full hosting mode. She wore sunglasses, held a plate of burgers, and barked orders like a general. "Sarah, make sure the lemonade has enough ice. David, stop poking the hot dogs. And someone find Muffin. He stole the bread buns again." Vekranar stood near the table, wearing a bright Hawaiian shirt at Sarah's suggestion, and a name tag that said hello, I'm Vecchi, his 4. Glowing eyes scanned the crowd. So many humans, so much noise. So much... meat? Is this a battle ritual? He asked Sarah quietly. It's a cookout, she replied. Same thing, but with mustard. One by one, the relatives arrived. First came Aunt Maggie and Uncle Tom, loud, friendly, and full of questions. So, you're the alien fella? Uncle Tom asked, shaking Vecrinar's hand so hard, the poor. Commander nearly dropped his plate, double quotes. Yes. I am honored to meet Sarah's single quotes. Uncle figure. Next came Sarah's 2 cousins Emma, age 10, and Danny, age 8. They ran straight up to Vecrinar and shouted, Can you fly? As Vecrinar blinked. Yes. Can you fight? Yes. Can you do a backflip? There was a short pause. Then Vecrinar bent his knees and did a slow-motion hover flip. Spinning once in the air and landing with a soft thud, the kids screamed in excitement. He's the coolest alien ever. Sarah smiled proudly. Linda raised an eyebrow, but even she looked impressed. Then came the most dangerous relative of all, Uncle Bob. He wore dark sunglasses, a USA flag t-shirt, and carried a foldable lawn chair like a weapon. He pointed at Vecrinar. I knew aliens were real. You're not here to take over Earth, are you? No, Vecrinar replied calmly. Are you sure? Because I have a garage full of canned beans and a baseball bat named Liberty? Sarah sighed. Uncle Bob, please don't start. Vecrinar simply bowed. If I ever attempt planetary control, I promise to start with peaceful negotiation. ... and dessert. Uncle Bob stared at him for a long second, then nodded. Fair enough. Want a soda? Yes, please. As the day went on, Vecrinar helped flip burgers, served fruit salad, and even played cornhole with Grandpa Joe. He listened politely to every story, even the one about Cousin Lily's lost hamster that somehow involved a vacuum cleaner. Then, it was time for the second challenge, Black Friday shopping. Wait, Vecrinar said, looking worried. Why are we going into battle again today? It's not battle, Sarah explained. Just shopping. But people do fight over deals sometimes. I am ready, he said, tightening his sandals. The next morning, they entered the local mall. Crowds filled every corner. From store to store like hungry animals, Linda handed Vecrinar a list. Your task is to find these items before noon. No teleporting, no weapons, just shopping carts and courage. But Linda wasn't done yet. One final test. Vecrinar looked serious. What is the final challenge? Linda picked up a remote and turned on the TV. A reality show popped up, a dating drama called Love in Space, Season 12. You must watch this entire season, she said, and tell me what the main lesson is. Vecrinar stared at the screen. This ... It's a human trial of patience. He sat down. 8 hours later, he stood back up. I've completed the show. Linda raised an eyebrow. And the lesson? Vecrinar spoke slowly. Love is not about fame or drama. It is about trust, kindness, and finding someone who accepts your weird alien habits. Sarah laughed. He nailed it. Linda smiled. Just a little. We'll see. Later that night, Vecrinar looked out at the stars. Again, holding a cup of cocoa. Sarah walked up beside him. You're doing amazing, she said. I have never faced trials like this before, he admitted. Your mother is ... fierce. Sarah nodded. She's the final boss. But if you win her over, you win the galaxy. Stood in silence for a moment. Then Linda's voice came from the kitchen. Vecchi, want some more cookies? Yes, matriarch. He called back with a proud smile. 2 days had passed since the family barbecue and the shopping trial. Commander Vecrinar had impressed most of Sarah's family. Even Uncle Bob had taken a liking to him after their 3rd can of soda and a long talk about freedom and fishing. But Linda Mitchell, the mother of Sarah, still hadn't given her full blessing. Not yet. You're doing great, Sarah said that morning as they sat on the porch. But today's the big one. Another trial, Vecrinar asked. Sitting. Very still. Yes, Sarah replied. Today, you meet Grandma Ruth. Vecrinar's forehead lights turned orange, the Valari color for nervousness. The Grand Matriarch? Yes, Sarah said with a slow nod. She is strong. She is wise, and she once threw a pie at a politician. She must be powerful. She is, Sarah said. If she doesn't like you, Mom won't bless the marriage. Vecrenar stood up. Then I must prepare. Later that afternoon, they drove to a quiet neighborhood at the edge of town. Grandma Ruth lived in a small brick house with a white fence and a beautiful garden full of sunflowers. As they walked up the path, Vecrenar adjusted his shirt and held a small gift, a glowing flower from his home planet. It bloomed only once every 400 years. I hope she likes it, he said softly. She loves flowers, Sarah whispered. Just don't call her ancient. The door opened before they knocked. There she stood, Grandma Ruth. Her short, gray hair was neat, her glasses sparkled in the sunlight, and her cane looked like it had knocked out a few teeth in its day. You must be the space boy, she said, looking Vecrenar up and down. Vecrenar gave a deep bow. Grand Matriarch. Ruth, I come with respect and honor. I don't care about honor, she replied. Can you bake a pie? Vecrenar blinked. I have never ... baked ... A pie, then we begin, she said, stepping aside. Come on in. Time to get those alien hands dirty, Grandma. Ruth's kitchen, things got serious. Flour flew into the air. Butter was sliced with precision. But Krona followed instructions like a soldier in battle. Not too much cinnamon. Grandma Ruth barked. Yes, Grand Matriarch. Roll the dough gently, like a love letter. Yes, Grand Matriarch. Sarah watched from the doorway, trying not to laugh. Her boyfriend, a battle-tested alien commander, was now sweating over a cherry pie. After an hour, the pie went into the oven. The sweet smell filled the room. You did well, Grandma, Ruth said, sitting down. Now tell me, ... why do you want to marry my granddaughter? Vecrenar stood still because she is kind. She's brave. She makes me better. When I am with her, I feel like I truly belong. Grandma Ruth stared at him for a moment, then leaned back. Good answer. She picked up a photo from the table, a younger version of herself, standing in front of a spaceship. Sarah leaned closer. I always forget you were a pilot, Grandma. First woman to fly through Saturn's rings, Grandma Ruth said proudly. Your alien friend isn't the only gain. She turned to him. Sarah's the same way. She's been through storms. If you marry her, you don't just get the sunshine. You stand with her during rain. Vecrenar nodded slowly. I will. I promise. Grandma Ruth reached into her pocket and handed him a small silver pin, shaped like a star. I wore. This when I flew my first ship, she said. Now I'm giving it to you. If my daughter still has doubts, ... show her this. Vecrenar took the pin gently, as if it were made of light. Thank you. I will protect her always. That evening, back at the Mitchell house, Linda was in the kitchen when Vecrenar returned. He stood straight and calm. I have met the Grand Matriarch, and, Linda asked, folding her arms. Vecrenar opened his hand and showed her. The silver star? Linda's eyes widened. She gave you that? Yes, she told me. I am not just asking for sunshine, ... I am promising to stand during the rain. Linda stared at him, silent for a long moment. Then finally, slowly, she smiled. Well, she said, maybe you're not so strange after all. A soft wind blew through the Mitchell backyard as the sun dipped low. Fairy lights blinked gently across the fence. The smell of grilled vegetables floated through the air. It had been a long week. Vecrenar had met every family member. He had passed the shopping test. He had survived Grandma Ruth's pie trial, and even earned her silver star pin. But the one person he still needed a final answer from was Linda, Sarah's mother. Sarah sat on the porch swing, leaning her head against Vecrenar's shoulder. You've done everything. Honestly, you've done more than any guy on Earth ever would. Vecrenar gently reached into his small satchel and pulled out the star pin from Grandma Ruth. He looked at it thoughtfully. Still the matriarch. Linda has not spoken the words. Sarah looked toward the kitchen window, where her mom was washing dishes, humming softly to herself. She's not an easy woman to impress. But I think you've gotten close. Just then, the porch door creaked. Open. Linda stepped out, drying her hands on a towel. Vecchi, come with me. I need your help with something. Vecranar stood quickly. Of course, matriarch. Sierra gave him a small smile. You've got this? Linda led Vecranar to the garage. It was dark inside, full of shelves, old paint cans, and dusty boxes. She flicked on the light. I need to show you something, she said. Vecranar looked around. Is this another test? Linda didn't answer right away. She walked to the far corner and opened a large old trunk. Inside was something strange. A telescope, some faded letters, and a small black box. She took out the black box and handed it to Vecranar. This belonged to Sarah's father. Vecranar took the box carefully. Her father. Yes, he died when she was 10. He was a scientist, and a dreamer. He used to talk about space all the time. Said he believed there was someone out there, someone kind, someone noble, someone who might not be human, but would love our daughter the right way. Vecranar opened the box. Inside was a small music device, a kind of old earth recorder. He pressed the button. A soft, scratchy voice played. If you're hearing this, I guess Sarah found someone special. If you're not from Earth, Well, that's even better. Just promise me one thing. Protect her. Love her with everything you've got. And don't forget she's stronger than she looks. The message ended with a quiet laugh. Vecranar was silent for a moment, then gently closed the box. Never knew her father, Linda said softly. But I know what he wanted for her. I've watched her grow, fall, rise again. I was afraid that you'd take her too far away, that I'd lose her forever. You will not lose her, Vecranar said. I will not take her from Earth if she chooses to stay. Her happiness is more important than stars. Linda looked at him closely, searching for any sign of dishonesty. But all she saw was truth glowing in his 4 calm eyes. You really love her, she whispered. Yes, he said simply. She looked away, brushing something from her cheek. You've done well, Vecchi. Better than I expected.
Ow.
But I'm not ready to give my full blessing. Not yet. Vecranar stood very still. May I ask? Why? Linda turned to him, her voice softer now. Because love isn't just about grand gestures. It's not just jokes, gifts, or even meeting my mother. It's about time. It's about being there every day, through the boring stuff, dirty dishes, slow mornings, quiet sadness. I want to know you'll be there for all of it. Understand, Vecran. AR said, I will not rush your blessing. Linda nodded. Good. But then she reached into her pocket and handed him something small, a button with the Mitchell family name on it. Written in silver thread, Sarah threw her arms around Vecranar. You're getting closer. And for my mom, that's a big deal. I will keep trying, Vecranar said, holding her gently, for as long as it takes. That night, as stars shone high above and the soft sounds of Earth drifted through, the window Vecranar placed the Mitchell family button beside Grandma Ruth's silver star. 2 symbols. 2 trials. But his journey wasn't over. The next step. Something no alien had ever done before. A surprise family camping trip. 1 week later. The Mitchell backyard was decorated with white lights, fresh flowers, and hand-painted signs. Neighbors peeked over fences, birds sang from nearby trees. The sky was clear, blue, and bright, like the start of something good. Sarah stood in front of a small mirror inside the house, adjusting her dress. Her heart beat faster than usual, not out of fear, but excitement. Grandma Ruth walked into the room. You look beautiful, my girl. Sarah smiled. Thanks, Grandma. Can you believe it's really happening? Oh, I believe it, Ruth replied. That alien's been through more tests than your uncle's fishing boat. Down in the backyard, Vecranar stood tall in a formal earth suit, slightly modified to fit his forearms and long torso. A single sunflower, chosen from Grandma Ruth's garden, was pinned to his chest. Uncle Bob clapped him on the back. Nervous, space son-in-law? I am. 37% nervous and 63% honored, Vecranar replied. Sarah's cousin Jenny waved from. The refreshment table. We made sure there's alien-safe lemonade, too. Even the family dog Max wore a little Bodhi and barked happily. But the center of attention wasn't just the happy couple. It was Linda Mitchell, who stood at the front of the yard with a small notebook in her hand. "All right, everyone," she called out, her voice strong and clear. "Thank you for coming to this very special blessing ceremony." Vekranar stood beside Sarah, his face glowing a soft, calm blue, the Valari color for joy. Linda looked around at the family, neighbors, and even a few off-duty space officers who had come to witness the event. "I've tested this man more than anyone should have to be tested. I've watched him survive shopping, grilling, baking, camping, and chaos. But more than that, ... Oh, whoa." She paused. "I've watched how he treats my daughter." Sarah reached for Vekranar's hand. He gently took hers. He respects her, listens to her, supports her without trying to control her. He's not afraid to admit when he's wrong, even if it's just about how to boil pasta. There was a light laugh from the crowd. Linda stepped forward, holding a small wooden box. In this box is something that belonged to Sarah's father, a ring made from earth silver and a tiny piece of meteorite. We saved it, hoping someday we'd meet someone worthy to wear it. Vekranar's breath caught. I think today is that day. She opened the box and handed it to Vekranar. The ring shimmered gently in the sunlight. Vekranar turned to Sarah. "This ring came from Earth and the stars, just like our journey. May I place it on your finger?" Sarah smiled with tears in her eyes. "Yes." He gently slipped the ring onto her finger, his touch soft and full of meaning. Linda stepped back. "Now, ... I believe the time has come." Everyone stood still. The birds paused their songs. Even Max stopped barking. Linda raised her right hand and spoke with full voice. "Vekranar of Valor, Linda Mitchell, mother of Sarah, give you my full blessing. May your union be strong, your hearts loyal, and your arguments short." Cheers filled the air. Grandma Ruth clapped proudly. Uncle Bob wiped a tear. Sarah beamed like the sun itself. Vekranar bowed deeply. "Your blessing is a great honor. I will protect her, love her, and walk beside her always." That evening, the party continued with music, dancing, and a mix of human and alien. Snacks. Vekranar tried karaoke for the first time, singing an Earth love song with surprising skill. Sarah laughed until her stomach hurt, as the sun set and the stars returned. The two of them sat under a tree, away from the noise for a moment of quiet. "You did it," Sarah whispered. "You earned her blessing. I would have waited forever." Vekranar said, "But I am glad it was only 7 days." Now she leaned her head on his shoulder. "So what now?" He looked up at the night sky. "Now we make a life together, whether it's on Earth or among the stars." Sarah smiled. "I think Earth will be home for a while. I'll build a garden," Vekranar said, "with sunflowers and pie trees." Sarah giggled. "Pie trees don't exist." "Then I will invent one." She took his hand. "Whatever comes next, we'll do it together." Above them, the stars twinkled, peaceful, bright, and full of stories. And somewhere out there, other planets waited. But for now, one alien had found his home. In a backyard with fairy lights, a ring, and the strongest blessing in the galaxy, the family van bounced along a narrow dirt road, heading deep into the woods. Trees stood tall on both sides like silent guards. Birds chirped in the distance. A cool breeze slipped through the windows. Sarah leaned over to Vekranar, who was wearing a large floppy hat and holding a camping guidebook upside down. "Are you ready for the next challenge?" "I am not afraid of the wilderness," Vekranar replied, "unless it contains ... bears." Uncle Bob, who sat in the front seat, laughed. "Don't worry, Space Ranger. Bears usually go for the slowest periods. So no gadgets, no fancy alien tools. Just firewood, food, and feelings." Vekranar nodded. "Understood. I've disabled my wrist scanner." They arrived at the campsite just before sunset. Tents were unpacked, a fire pit was set up, and everyone began their assigned tasks. Vekranar offered to help with everything from hammering tent stakes to collecting firewood. He accidentally scared a squirrel, tripped over a log, and got his shirt caught in a tree branch, but he never gave up. Later, when the stars appeared above and the fire crackled warmly in the middle of the circle, everyone sat together on folding chairs and sleeping bags. It was a peaceful scene, the kind of moment when stories are shared and secrets are softly told. Grandpa Joe passed around a box of graham crackers. "All right," he said. "It's time for the campfire questions." "Oh no," Sarah whispered. "Not this game." "What is campfire questions?" Vekranar asked. Linda answered, holding up a tin can filled with folded paper. "We each take turns pulling a question from this can. No skipping, no lies, just honest answers." "Except Vekranar," said firmly. Uncle Bob reached into the can and pulled the first question. "If you could relive one memory, what would it be?" Everyone gave sweet or funny answers. Vekranar said, "The first time Sarah smiled at me after I said her cooking was delightfully confusing," Sarah giggled. "You said my soup had too many textures. It surprised my senses," he said proudly. Then Sarah pulled the next question and passed it to Vekranar. He read it slowly. "What is the most important promise you've ever made?" Everyone turned to him. Vekranar looked at the stars above and then at Sarah. His voice became softer. "On my home planet, I promised a fallen soldier that I would find peace, not just for myself, but for others. That is why I joined the Earth Alliance. But now, my greatest promise is to Sarah. I promise to stand beside her, not only when life is good, but also when life is difficult." Linda glanced at him quietly, saying nothing. The game continued. More laughter, more memories. But then, after the fire grew low and most of the family had gone to bed, only Linda, Sarah, and Vekranar remained near the flames. Linda poked the fire with a stick. "You've been through a lot this week." "It was an honor," Vekranar said. Sarah wrapped her arms around her knees. "You've impressed everyone, Mom, even Grandma." Linda sighed. "Yes, and I'm almost convinced. But there's still one thing I need to see." Vekranar tilted his head. "Another test?" "No," Linda said. "Just one question. Tell me, Vekranar, you know what sacrifice really means? Marriage isn't just happiness. Sometimes it means giving up what you want." Looked into the fire for a long time. "I do know," he finally said. "When I first met Sarah, I thought love would be simple, a bond of joy. But I have learned that love is also choice. If she wishes to remain on Earth, I will stay, even if it means leaving behind my rank, my ship, and my title. If she one day chooses to explore the stars, I will follow her. It's not because I must, but because I want to. Her life is now my path, wherever it leads." Sarah blinked. Her eyes shimmered with emotion. Linda didn't speak right away. She stood, brushed dirt off her jeans, and stared up at the sky. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I was going to give this to her future husband. If I ever thought he deserved it." Vekranar bowed deeply. "Will protect this and her with all that I am." Sarah stood and hugged her mom tightly. Linda gave her daughter a rare smile. "I guess, ... you found a good one." As the fire burned low, Sarah and Vekranar sat side by side, watching the night sky. No words were needed. The stars above were countless, but only one blessing mattered tonight.